generation.
Sylvester
Comment
Stallone again. Sylvester Stallone we're talking about for the second time this week. I am a fan of his, but this is all about, it's revealed that he's writing a pitch for a Rocky prequel television series, not a film. Sylvester Stallone has announced he's drafting a pitch for a Rocky prequel streaming series featuring the original characters in the 1960s. It's going to cost a bit of money doing that, is it not? Now, riding high off the franchise's continued success in the modern era of streaming, Sylvester Stallone announced on Instagram that he's currently writing a pitch for a Rocky prequel series. The show would be set in the cultural zeitgeist of the 1960s and consist of ideally 10 episodes for a few seasons to really get to the heart of the characters in their younger years. Stallone wrote, presumably those core characters would be Rocky, Mickey, Paulie and Adrian, as Apollo Creed doesn't meet Rocky until the first movie, and he's got that little notebook there. I'll tell you something, John, he's a tremendous writer. I like his writing.
It's very nice and tidy, yes.
Yeah,
He's very into
old fashioned, but I'll tell you something. Well, I'll let you in first, John. Your thoughts on this? I tried to read most of it. I like the bit down at the bottom. It's like all the sort
moon
of
landing,
all the major
sexual
events,
revelation,
the
new left, hippie movement,
Yeah.
the Cold War, the civil rights movement,
all the stuff that was happening. You know, the
Yes.
big things that were happening in the 1960s, John.
no mention of Woodstock, but I suppose that comes under the hippie movement because that was the sort of zenith of the hippie movement.
No mention
Where
of
they
the
were all
Vietnam War
congregating.
from Sly Stallone either.
No, they wouldn't mention Vietnam War in there, Stephen, because Sly famously dodged the Vietnam War. I don't blame him. I wouldn't have fought in that war. That was a disgrace. What was going on there, it was a sort of proxy war against Russia, wasn't it? In China.
Origins of Rocky, though, John.
Yes, Stephen, it's not something I'm overly enamoured at the thought of. I don't think I need to see an Origins of Rocky. I think we got enough of Rocky's core story, what made the man tick, in the first Rocky movie and in the subsequent movies.
Yeah.
I've got no desire to go back and see the history of this character. I don't think it's necessary. I don't know why Hollywood and people within Hollywood are obsessed with going back and giving and filling in the blanks and giving us additional backstory for famous characters. We got it with Han Solo, we got it with Lando Calrissian in the same movie.
We're getting it with Obi-Wan. John, we'll have to talk about Obi-Wan because I don't know where you want to slot this into the show if you want to do it then.
Fire it in after this, Stephen.
We'll do it right after this, right? Okay, then, no problem. John, I totally agree exactly what you're saying here because I think it actually sounds like your Uncle Matthew there. I totally agree with what you're saying because Rocky and Adrian's story starts for me in the first movie. That shyness and awkwardness of both these characters, was what made that film tick along. Forget all the boxing and stuff like that. You know, it was that relationship between those two that really was the heart and soul of that original movie.
And it was them, with his sort of trainer as well.
Yeah, getting to know each other, you know, and building the relationship. Now, if they do this, you can't have Rocky and Adrian interacting too much in the television series because they would know each other very well then by the time you know the events of Rocky happen. So, listen, I trust Sylvester Stallone's writing. I know he'll get it right if they are going to do it, John. Me as a fan of the Rocky series, I don't really need to see it. I don't really need all the blanks filled in like you said as well. But if they're going to make it, I don't know.
The original Rocky movie was a tremendous movie. Did he not net some sort of nomination or something for the script? I think he got multiple Academy Award nominations for that movie, so it was a great movie.
Yeah.
And that, again, it focused on the backstory of Rocky himself. And then the subsequent movies filled in the blanks. We don't need to go back and have prequel stories. I don't really want to see it. I want to see Sly moving away from Rocky. He seems to have an obsession with it.
Yeah.
He stepped away from the character after Creed 2. He says he was going to move aside. It was Adonis, Creed's story. Michael B. Jordan's directing the next movie. Now he's coming in and pining away for the character again and trying to do prequels. I do agree with you, though. He's a good writer. He is a very good writer.
Yeah.
And if there's a script there and they can cast correct, because it can't be Sly Stallone, let's be honest, he can't do a prequel.
John, the casting's going to be very difficult.
It's going to be very hard to replace Sylvester Stallone. He's a one-in-a-generation talent.
Mickey as well.
Yeah, it's
really
impossible.
Great Burgess Meredith, I think his name was.
Don't know how you do it. I can't even think of an actor, Steve, that could slide in and play Sylvester Stallone in a prequel and not have it been Jaden. They'd have to de-age him.
No, well,
it'd cost millions of dollars.
No, that would be awful. I used to think the Irishman was
Sly Stallone doesn't even look like Sly Stallone now, Stephen.
John,
they can't even use Sly as the sort of template to de-age the character because he's changed that much.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking welly now, so he looks amazing. He's shape's incredible. He's in better shape than me, and he's about 50, 60 years older than me. So he's not 60 years older than me. He's not 90. He's about 40 years
he's
older than me.
yeah, he's in his 70s, isn't he? So
60 years older.
yeah, I totally agree, John. It's right. Casting's going to be very difficult. It's all right if you're doing maybe a minute or two's flashback. They did that in that Danny Collins film that I watched, the Al Pacino film, where they had the young Danny Collins, and it was basically what they did was they just get someone that looked like a young Al Pacino. But for a couple of minutes, it's fine. You can kind of move on from it, and you don't dwell on it too much. But for a whole series,
it's difficult. Yeah,
it's very, very difficult, John. It's very much like this talk of the Luke Skywalker. I don't want to see a CG Mark
Steve,
Hamill.
what do you make about that development
or
of
de-aged Mark Hamill?
Mark Hamill coming out and saying that assumes that I have say on casting over at Disney and Lucasfilm, which I don't.
No.
So with Sebastian Stan coming out and saying, I would be interested in playing the character, but I require Mark Hamill's blessing.
Yeah,
Mark Hamill's
that's a
come out and
different
says,
thing.
I don't really care. So is that something you'd like to see? Because I'm all set.
I think most
Sebastian.
people do want to see it, John, because I think they want to see more Luke Skywalker, and the only way round it is to get an experienced actor in that kind of resembles Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And he is to a T.
He's double.
There's a bit of obviously cross wires, I think, because Sebastian Stan's not saying he's looking for I'm saying it as well, Mark Hamill to give
Be
the green
involved.
light. He doesn't have a say in who they cast.
Yeah.
But I think
He's looking his blessings.
he want his blessing because he's the only guy that's ever played Luke Skywalker live action. That is, I'm pretty sure there's been voice actors in video games and stuff like that. It's
I'd
done,
argue
yeah.
Mark Hamill didn't play Luke Skywalker on the holiday special, because that was not
No.
Mark Hamill.
No,
That was some fucking makeup monster.
That was some orange guy.
Donald Trump's child.
It was probably Donald Trump.
Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, But no, I don't know, John. I'm not really. If they're going to do it with Sebastian Stan. I slurred my words there already. So it's not even 11:15 yet.
So my first
Is it,
director. I'm going to scare the hell out of you. You see my finger in the shot there, Steve? Am I giving the game away?
Yeah.
Absolute joke.
Yep.
Absolute joke.
Anyway, Connie, John, getting back to obviously Rocky and Sylvester Stallone. Listen, if it happens, it happens. I might.
If he dies, he dies.
If I see it, I see it. If I don't, I don't. I don't really care. To
Do
be
you
honest
think
with you.
a studio was going to greenlight this, or do you think this would be a streaming service set up? Because this, to me, has Netflix or Amazon
Well, that's what
Prime
it says
all
in
over it.
the. I think that's what he's aiming at. A streaming service, John.
There's no way he's getting a movie.
Yeah, no.
Studio
I don't
videos.
think. I think it would work better. I think he's probably seen a lot of these episodes, these television series that are fleshing out these characters. We got it with obviously Cobra Kai.
You watch
For
that?
Netflix. Oh, well, it was originally YouTube Red it was on.
yeah.
And he's probably seen the sort of appeal to that sort of nostalgia and fleshing out characters and giving them more of a backstory. Cobra Kai is actually set after the events of, it's not a prequel, but it's still the same premise, isn't it? But we're going to move on, John, to our next topic.